I pulled the Ace of Discs today, and that is the manifestation card. And that card talks about having your cake and eating it too. A lot of us have an issue with that. It's a subconscious issue, but we don't really want to eat our cake. I have a practice here that's going to help you dissolve those blocks. The practice requires you to get a candle. It requires you to get a clock with a second hand. So how I usually do it is I sit in a meditative posture. This is the setup. And on a bench in front of me, I have a small little tea light candle, and I light that. And then underneath that bench, leaning against it, the bench I actually use as my fireplace hearth, which is about 1.5 feet off the ground. And then underneath that, I put a clock. It's a big clock, and it has a second hand. And the practice requires me to stare at the flame, and so I can see the clock in my peripherals. The clock also ticks, which really helps me because I'm counting as I do it. The practice takes 5 minutes. You're going to go for 5 minutes. It's a breath practice, visualization practice, and it has a pattern to the breaths. But before I get to the breath, let me talk about the visualizations. So the visualizations are on the inhale, you visualize having your cake and eating it. Having and eating. This is a full reception. So on the inhale breath, you should feel full reception. And what you're going for in this practice is that sense of fullness. You want to feel it. So you can picture yourself eating a cake. But that will only get you so far. What you really want to dig into is to go further than that and receive fully the feeling of, oh, I've got this cake. So in one of the earlier breath practices that I've taught before, in the breath, we breathe in, and that is an inhalation of yes to life. The feeling is, yes, I am born. It goes back to the first thing you did when you were born as you came out was you breathed in. And the last thing you'll do when you die is you'll breathe out. That'll be the last thing you do. So on the exhalation, you're going to visualize having your cake and not eating it. Now the way I do this is I picture this beautiful sumptuous cake and I picture myself with duct tape over my mouth. Now you can use any visualization technique you want, be as creative as you want with that. But that's how I do it. But the feeling is having the cake and not being able to eat it. It's a frustrating, angry feeling. You've received this, but you can't really have it. In essence, you're kind of being screwed with. It's like, oh, here's this cake, but you can't have it. And you're like this internal block. A lot of this might come in and feel like unworthiness. You might say, oh, I'm just not worthy. And that feeling, you really want to feel it. So in this practice, you really want to feel not worthy for a moment. And you're going to go back and forth in the practice. And that's the key to dissolving it. Is that you're going to feel the fullness of having this cake and eating it. You have and can you eat it? It's yours. You get everything you want fully. And that practice can be hard. I mean, you're going to practice feeling it fully, and then you're going to practice not having it fully. And some people will tend to have difficulty with one or the other. In particular, most people are going to have feeling of full resonance with having your cake and eating it. As you practice this, you'll feel moments of, I'm just not receiving it fully. And you can go back to the breath. See, that breath is your key because you've just received the breath fully. The breath has come into your lungs, and the deeper you breathe and a lot of our yoga techniques that we've taught you or will teach you are about receiving that breath fully, which means you breathe down into your belly and you breathe up into your solar plexus and then fully into your chest. This fullness of three-part breath, which will completely fill you. And that oxygen is coming totally into your lungs and then into your bloodstream. So you have just received your cake and eaten fully. You can't get away from it. There's no psychological repulsion of that. You can try. I don't want it, and those blocks will come up. But the breath is the key, because the breath receives it fully. If you simply practice the breath down into your belly, into your solar plexus, up into your chest, that three-part, and you just take one deep breath, you have received your cake and eaten it too. So as you're practicing this, full breath is really important. So you're visualizing your cake, you're visualizing eating it, you're doing it with the breath, the full inhalation. You're feeling what that feels like, and you may have blocks there, and that's exactly what you should have, because that's why you're doing this practice. And then you do the opposite. You let go of the breath, you exhale, and you have this cake, but you can't have it. And you feel that. You feel, why can't I have it? The unworthiness, the sense of death, the sense of futility, the sense of I'm not good enough, or I can't receive it fully because I'll hurt other people. There's a lot of reasons we come up to not receiving, so we dive into those feelings. So this is a truly edge-like practice. It takes a lot of courage. The more you feel and push into receiving fully and then not receiving fully, the better you're going to dissolve these blocks, so that your ultimate aim is to receive fully and let go fully. Receive fully, have cake, eat it, and then, sorry to be crude, shit it out. So you get your cake, you got it, you ate it, you received every bit of it, and then, like the breath, you received it fully, and then you let it go. This is the key practice. So, the breath pattern that I've created for you is pretty simple. It's a 5-minute breath practice. Remember, on the inhales, you're receiving and eating your cake fully. And on the exhale, you receive the cake, but you cannot have it. Those are the feelings. So the first minute, I go 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale. 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale. So you just sit there and you begin. I wait till the second hand has reached the 12, and I'm staring at the flame. I'm gazing at the flame. I'm feeling and visualizing and keeping the second hand in my peripherals. I actually, in my mind, I'm able to count. I count one, because it clicks. My clock clicks. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so I inhale for 5 seconds. That's 1. And then I exhale for 5 seconds. And I do that in and out, and I get 6 sets in a minute. And again, inhale 5 seconds. It's a pretty easy breath practice. I'm trying to inhale as deeply as possible, and then I try to exhale fully so that I completely empty my lungs. At this point, it seems like a lot that I'm saying to you, and there is a written version that accompanies, that you can ask to get this from this video, and I'll post a link to that, an email link on that after, at the end of this video, so that you can read this. It's good to be able to hear me tell you about it, but it's also really good to read it, and both together you'll put the practice together and put it into your own life. So the first set, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. You'll do 6 sets of that. Now when the second comes around to the top, you can feel that you've reached the end of the first minute, and that's how you know to switch. And the second set goes like this. 5 seconds in, hold your breath for 5 seconds, and then exhale for 5 seconds. So you breathe in for 5, hold that full breath for 5 seconds, and then exhale for 5 seconds. That'll give you 4 sets in the minute. Again, you're doing your visualizations with this. You're doing your feelings. The third set is you breathe in 5 seconds, inhale, hold 5 seconds, exhale 5 seconds, hold 5 seconds. So in, hold, out, hold. In, hold, out, hold. It's going to be 20 seconds for a full round. 5 in, 5 hold, 5 out, 5 hold. And you'll get 3 sets in a minute of this. The fourth one will stretch you a little, particularly if you don't have a normal breathing practice. And this one you breathe in for 10 seconds. So now you want to slow your inhale down. You've been rapidly filling your breath in 5 seconds. Now you're going to slow that down a little. And this is a little tricky. It may take a few days to get this transition. Don't worry about feeling out of breath at any point in time and having to take extra catch-up breaths. There's nothing wrong with that. That's normal. You'll get the series of breaths eventually in time. And what I want you to do on this one again is 10 seconds in, hold 10 seconds, and then 10 seconds out. This might be pretty difficult. It's a pretty big jump, but give it a try. 10 seconds in, 10 seconds hold, 10 seconds out. That leaves you with 2 sets. Each one of those is 30 seconds. Again, doing your visualizations. So now the fifth one, and this one is pretty hard, but don't worry, again, you can grow into this practice. And there's a lot of other breath practices that we can give you that will be really useful for building up your pranayama breath practice strength. But this one is 10 in, 10 hold, 10 out, and 10 hold. That final 10 seconds hold when your breath is completely empty is the most difficult part. And if you do it right, you will feel a sensation. It should, unless you have a really strong breath to start with, you should feel a sense of panic and a sense of lack. And like you need that breath. It's much easier to hold your breath in than it is when your lungs are empty, if you ever want to try that. And that lack feeling, that final lack feeling is a wonderful piece to add on to not having your cake. I mean, having your cake and not eating it. You'll feel like I need that breath, which is great because you'll feel like I need the cake, but I can't have it. So it really meshes well with the practice. And that you do once, and that's 40 seconds, a little bit shorter than a minute. So then there's a round of breathing that lasts as long as you want it to afterwards, but it's a little bit of catching up breath. It's usually about 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. And in this, there's no holds. There's simply, you breathe in, you breathe out, and you breathe in, eating the cake, you breathe out, not being able. You breathe in, eating, breathe out, not able. And what you're doing here, and this is the cleanup part of the whole thing, is you're breathing this in and out rather quickly. It can go quicker than 5 seconds. And the sensation ends up being a dissolution. And what you're kind of looking for is the feeling in your body of emptiness and letting go of either one. So that ultimately it's neither eating your cake or neither not eating your cake. Neither eating, neither not. Neither having, neither not. And so that it's a letting go. You should feel in your body kind of an emptiness. It's a combination of open-hearted emptiness. That's what you're looking for in this feeling. So that your attachment to having or not having dissolves. So you just breathe this back and forth. And at first, in your practice, you may get days where you just can't get it to dissolve. Keep going. All of this starts to come together. What I want you to do is to do this for 30 days. Every day. So it's a 5-minute practice, maybe 6 minutes, with the dilution 7 minutes part. That's all. 5 minutes a day. 5, 6, 7 minutes a day. And you'll get to that point where it just dissolves. It just dissolves out. And so what you're ultimately doing here is dissolving your attachment to having and eating or having and not eating, which ultimately will allow you to have and then let go. And that energy will be very powerful in manifesting the life that you want. And that you can look at things and there's no blocks to having or not having. So you're not, I don't have it, I need it, so you're not afraid, or I have it but now I'm not worthy of it. All those can be dissolved, and this practice really pinpoints that and starts that process. So, of dissolving your fears around having or not having money. It dissolves your fears around having or not having money so that you can manifest your life the way you really organically and authentically want to and need to, and is revealed to you in the divine sense of what the universe wants from you. And now those blocks are gone so it can flow through you. And note the elegance of it. It all goes back to the breath. You breathe in fully. And then you exhale fully. Each breath a full reception of life. Each exhale, letting go. That's how you manifest. And this practice will pinpoint that for you. So if you decide to take and do this practice at any time, if you find this on the internet, make sure you drop me a line and let me know you're beginning. There's a little accountability in that. And then I'll respond to you as soon as I can, welcome you to the challenge and encourage you. And after 30 days, find out where you're at. You can report back to me and say, hey, I made it, or I didn't make it. I stopped after 15 days. I stopped after 1 day. I stopped after 29 days. And then you can report the results. And this is really important to you and to me, but mostly to you. Report the results. I did it and nothing happened, or I did it and something started to shift, or this came up and that came up. And these pieces that you notice and become aware of are really important. And using me as the person to report to is useful. You can do it to anyone else if you want. It doesn't really matter, but you need to report to someone your results and write them down and say, hey, this happened, this happened, this happened. And you'll kind of create a frame and a scientific inquiry into what happened, and this creates a super hyper awareness of what's going on in your life. And at first you might not be able to necessarily deal with that. You might not. It's like this comes up, this comes up, this comes up, this comes up. I don't know what to deal with those things. The practice takes care of those things. So you just keep practicing, you keep receiving, you keep letting go, you keep receiving, you keep letting go. Because the ultimate act of manifestation will be this reception and letting go. Reception, letting go. And the blocks that you have in you from your childhood, from your DNA, we can dissolve completely through this breath practice and through various other practices that we teach you. So again, if you begin the challenge at any time, 5, 10 years from now, after I publish this, you find this and you begin, drop me a line and I'll follow along with your progress. Thanks for coming along and listening. I hope you take this practice and integrate it and then report back to me what happened.